on that field today? Ask yourself this question.
What time is it? Game time! What time is it? Game time! What time is it? Game time! What time is it? Let's go! We ready! We ready! We ready! We ready! And let's go to the house! And let's go to the house!
When I step on the field, I send one message. And this is what it feels like. This is what it feels like.
Football is getting hit. That's it.
It's gonna be football now. What time is it? Game time. What time is it? Game time. What time is it? Game time. What time is it? Let's hunt now. Let's hunt now. Let's go. Let's hunt. We ready? And let's go to the house. And let's go to the house.
We're talking about the Jets like we're talking about the Saints. You know, all this, how like we the Miami Heat of football. Yeah. The bottom line is you got to buckle up your chin strap.
It's embarrassing.
Yeah.
Don't disrespect the game like that. There's too much crying from them.
He's a man. They can be hit just like us. He's a man.
You already make the big money.
He's a man.
Don't cry when you step on the field, man. That's war out there.
When I step on the field, I send one message. And this is what it feels like.
Oh, my bad. Your bad don't work in my world.
What time is it? Game time. What time is it? Game time. What time is it? Game time. What time is it? Let's go. Let's go. Let's go. We ready? And let's go to the house. And let's go to the house. It's a wrap. Game over.
Now, this game is not over. It's just getting started right here on the lunch break, powered by JM&E. Streaming live on Roku TV, courtesy of BS3 TV. And I got to tell you, man, we got a lot going on today as the combine is going on, and we got new quarterbacks that are on the free agent market. So, again, man, it's a lot going on. We're going to talk about it today on Winning Wednesday. For all you folks who are wondering, what is the BS3 network? Do yourself a favor. If you got a Roku streaming device, just look for BS3 TV. BS3 TV in the part of the app where it has streaming channels. BS3 TV. You're going to thank me. Download that joker and you will be checking out all the great shows, including the lunch break live right there on your TV. We're changing the way you watch TV. If you don't have a Roku streaming device, just do this. Go to bs3network.com. That's bs3network.com, and you are in. All right. So now, as I've been mentioning this week, that the NFL Combine going on up in Indianapolis, of course, there are all the coaches, if you will, and, you know, or their representatives are up there. A lot of general managers are there, if not all of them. And they're looking for the guys that they could talk to, that they can measure, that they can, you know, test through drills and strength and conditioning and all that kind of stuff, to help their team get to where the Kansas City Chiefs ended up, winners of the Super Bowl. Obviously, I'm in Houston. I'm covering the Houston Texans, as I have for many years, since 2005. And I got to tell you, Nick Caserio is in his element. He loves being in the middle of that stuff, and a lot of the stuff he says just seems real. You said a lot, but what does that mean? I want to thank my colleagues who are there in Indy for sending me the tape and the audio that I need to be able to, you know, play back and let you hear for yourself some of what the Texans general manager, Nick Caserio, is saying about the combine and how they're going to go about building that team. So without further ado, let me get right to it. Before I, get my first commercial break. Here is Texans general manager Nick Caserio at the NFL Combine in Indianapolis.
Indy. Hopefully we can have a few productive days here. Our coaching staff actually stay back in Houston. D'Amico will be here a little bit later this afternoon. We just felt the best thing for the new staff was just kind of stay back, kind of work on scheme, kind of familiarize ourselves with our team, continue to work through that. So try to be efficient with our time, try to get some work done here. I'd say our college scouting staff done an awesome job at this point. Lip, Tom Hayden, Zeke, John, the whole group. They've done a lot of the heavy lifting to this point. So, try to maximize our opportunities here this week and then head back to Houston here later the week. get ready for free agency, and keep building the team. So exciting time for the team, exciting time for the organization, exciting time for the city. So let's try to keep building on some good days here and keep stacking a few things together. So take some questions. Go ahead, John. You can start off. Yeah, we're really looking at the entire kind of team building process. So we've kind of started with our team, kind of had D'Amico and the staff had an opportunity to look at our team. We know we're going to add to this position. We have one player on the roster currently. I'd say it's probably going to be a combination of draft, 2 free agency, could be 2 draft, could be 2, however it goes. So we're going to look at whatever resources we have available to us, try to make the right decision. But really, it's about the total team building process. It's not really about one position. So we're going to be very thoughtful. We're going to take our time and try to make good decisions all throughout the spring.
And on that, whenever you're organizing an entire roster, how do you value the quarterback position, maybe data-wise, contract-wise, maybe somebody on a rookie deal? What's your philosophy?
Yeah, I don't think you're making decisions based on data. You're making decisions based on what you think is best for your organization and your team. So, we have 50 players on a team, give or take. So, we're going to add 40 players to the team. So, you'll probably add, 15 to 20 in free agency, give or take, maybe a little more, maybe a little less, probably a little less. Right now, we have 11 draft picks, so call it 10 to 12 draft picks, and then however many players we sign after free agency. So, again, philosophically, D'Amico and I feel the same way. It's really not about one player. It's not about one position. It's about building a good team. And if you have a good team, that gives you the best chance to go out there on Sunday and have some success. So that's what our focus is going to be.
Right. So a couple of things right there. You couldn't really hear the questions because of where, my guy was sitting. The first question, John McClain, the general, formerly with the Houston Chronicle, now is doing some work with one of the local stations and with another podcast organization, asked about the quarterback position. And Nick Caserio says it's not about building, it's about building the total team, not just looking at one position. So obviously, the Texans have been reported to be looking for a quarterback with the number 2 pick overall in the draft. Nick Caserio, general manager, saying that it's not about one position, it's about building the entire team. He said there's only one player on the roster right now, and obviously that is what he said. So that's kind of interesting. He did piecemeal a team and handed to Lovie Smith, and kind of cost him his job. And I'm talking about Lovie Smith's job. So we'll see how he builds this organization, because that's one thing I got to be honest with you. And I'm not shading Nick Caserio. Has he ever built an organization? Has he ever been the leader in building an organization? When you look at the last 2 one-and-done coaches here in Houston, Nick Caserio was the responsible person for the draft. David Culley wasn't leading the draft room when he was a head coach, and Lovie Smith was not leading the draft room when he was a head coach. It was Nick Caserio both times. So a lot of eyes are on Nick. You can talk all the football ease he wants, but at the end of the day, he's got to prove that he can build a team through the draft and free agency. Now, he can field a team. Fielding a team and building a team are 2 different things. We know he can field a team. Anybody can field a 53-man roster and a practice squad. Just pick players. Get them to agree to come and sign them and what have you. But can you build an organization or rebuild an organization that has been for the last several years? That's where, again, fine. You fired Lovie Smith, you fired David Culley, you fired the respective offensive coordinators and staff, what have you. You cannot go another season with Nick Caserio handling your draft, building and rebuilding the organization, and not literally scrutinizing him to the highest level and the highest difficulty if he doesn't get it done this year. You just cannot. You cannot. In fact, there's no way you can bring him back next season if he doesn't get it done this season. Second question was more around the comment of how many people are on the roster and building the organization. And again, it was tied to a quarterback's potential asking or requesting in the form of a contract. First of all, the draft picks are slotted. They're slotted. If you're the number 1 pick, there's a salary range. If you're number 2, there's a salary range. It's slotted. So interesting question. Not really a valid question, but Casario's answer of, well, you don't really make your decisions based on that. You make your decisions based on the best available players for your team. So again, we'll see. Again, local media loves to talk about the coaches, loves to talk about the offensive coordinators, the defensive coordinators, and what have you. But local media very rarely is critical of the front office. Very rarely. And again, that's where it all starts. Head coaches, at least down here in Houston, do not run out there and pick their own players, pick their own, position players, skill players, special teamers. They don't do that. In fact, Rick Smith, who is the best general manager the team has ever had, the franchise has ever had, before who got here, was real good on tell me what you want. Okay, let's go out and get it. And, it's a mutual agreement. Hey, I like this guy, I like this guy, I like this guy. And Rick Smith, based those things on the availability of the player and then the salary cap issues and that kind of stuff. And they worked hand in hand synonymously. When the Mr. Offensive Coordinator of New England, Bill O'Brien, got here, I hate to, Billy got here. He wanted all that control. He wanted all the control. He was like, the big tuna who was like, look, and if I'm making the dinner, I got to buy the groceries. And we see how that went. This organization has been set back 5 years. And I said that. This organization is going to be in trouble for 5 years because all control was turned over to that one guy who didn't know what the hell he was doing. Question is, does Nick Caserio know what the hell he's doing? So we'll find out more today when the players actually get there and start doing the stuff that they are going to be doing during the combine. You heard that Lovie Smith, you heard that head coach D'Amico Ryans and his staff are not there. He's got them back here in Houston, working on scheme and all that kind of stuff. Well, if you only got one player on the roster, you see how stuff comes back on the stuff. If you only got one player on the roster, who the hell are you working on scheme with? That one player? And are you even allowed to work with the players right now? We'll see. We'll see. This one is a make it or break it year for Texans GM Nick Caserio. I'm going to be one who's going to be sounding the alarm, man. Hey, you Gators do 3 drafts. What the hell? What are we doing? Are we done or we finished? Are we done or we through? What did he say? Willie, what did Birdman say when he was on the Breakfast Club? Anyway, let me take my first break right here on the lunch break, powered by JM&E, streaming live on Roku TV, courtesy of BS3 TV. We will be right back right after this.
Alicia.
You can't hold somebody to that standard if you haven't voiced what you want and what you're needing from that.
Mika.
If you're not communicating expectations, you're waiting for your feelings to be hurt.
Nicole.
Yeah. A lot of people don't want to take the time out to be alone and to get themselves together.
Ivan.
You got to be willing to work through stuff. And from the jump street, y'all done had problems. Maybe you don't need to be working through those.
BS3 Network proudly presents Queen 3 and King podcast. Live every Tuesday at 7 p.m. Central. Looking for a sports program that gives you the flavor.
Washington Commanders? Really?
This whole thing stinks to high heaven.
That pulls no punches.
Thuggish act by a thuggish actor.
That gives you some humor.
Praise everything LeBron does and never criticize it.
If you want a show that gives you good times, then this is that show. BS3 Network proudly presents.
I am Cole Johnson, and welcome to
Cole Sports with a Z. Every Friday on Patreon, and every Saturday on YouTube, Spreaker, and all other outlets.
And if y'all have not tapped in on Cole Sports, what are you waiting for? Let me tell you something. That is one of the baddest man in the building. Cole Johnson, you one of the baddest man in the building, bro. I mean that. I mean from my chest, man, from a heart. All right. So anyway, all those are part of the BS3 network. Great show last night with Queen 3 and King podcast. If you haven't seen that one, go back and check out the replay. Dope fire. All right. So anyway, go to on your Roku streaming device, go to BS3 TV. Go to BS3 TV, download that bad boy. You got it. If you don't have a Roku streaming device, just go to bs3network.com. That's BS, the number 3 network.com, and you in, my friend. So, man, let me tell you, I got to tell Cole, you a bad, bad man. You a bad, bad man. All right, getting back to it, there are a couple of other players now on the free agent market. Carson Wentz has been released by Washington. Marcus Mariota, quarterback, who was top 3 pick in the NFL draft when he came out, has been released by Atlanta. So there again, you've got 2 quarterbacks in addition to Derek Carr and others who have NFL starting experience. I ain't gonna say NFL starting success, but NFL starting experience. So whether they are a quality backup for you or whether they are a bridge quarterback until one of the Anthony Richardson, Bryce Young, CJ Stroud, Will Levis, when you get those guys in, maybe you have one of these guys to bridge until your quarterback is ready to go either later on in the season or, the following seasons, to come. Marcus Mariota seemed to have gotten off to an okay start in Atlanta when he got there. And then I think week 10, somewhere around there, they decided to see what they had in, the quarterback that they got in the draft, a young man out of Cincinnati, Ritter. And, it happens. It's business, folks. What they say, they always want to call it a game when you want to talk business, and they always want to call it business when you want to talk about the game. So they made a business decision, and now Marcus Mariota is on the free agent market. Geno Smith still out there. Derek Carr reportedly is going to meet with teams during the combine and during the draft. So that's going to be pretty interesting. We'll see how that plays out. But, on Winning Wednesday, could any of those quarterbacks help you? Could any of those quarterbacks help your team win more than they did this past season? We'll see. They're going to end up somewhere. When you look at how long Josh McCown hung on, and now people are considering him a possible head coach in the NFL. You got to wonder if you can't get some mileage out of a Marcus Mariota. You can't get some mileage out of, Derek Carr, Carson Wentz. That's what I'd stay away from personally. I don't want him, down here in Houston, especially fooling around behind or in front of CJ Stroud or Bryce Young or Anthony Richardson or Will Levis for that matter. But it remains to be seen. Ryan Tannehill is another interesting name that I feel like could be on the move this season. What's interesting is up in Green Bay, the general manager of the Packers spoke, and he was non-committal about the quarterback position up there in Green Bay. The published reports say they are very interested in having who back, but the general manager's report is like all options are on the table. That doesn't sound like we if he wants us, we want him. That's not what that said. That said all options are on the table. So, if somebody wants to package a whole bunch of draft picks and something like that and get, so that they can get Mr. Drama King, I want to sell the Queens, then, again, it sounds like that general manager is open to it. And why wouldn't he be? When you look at what that quarterback has taken that organization through, a lot of folks forget that he threw all the young receivers under the bus at the beginning of the season, after the first couple of games. This dude ain't no mentor. This dude ain't nobody you want to look up to and, get your legs and, legs underneath you as you're a new player in the NFL. And I know I'm not in that locker room, but, I've seen enough, not sound bites, but just this dude talking and going on different people's shows and all of that, where the stuff he said is not what you want from the leader of your franchise. He's going to end up somewhere, even if it's back in Green Bay. I don't think it's the best place for him to be. You know, again, where does he go? Where does he go? A lot of talk about Mac Jones and New England and the possibility of Bill Belichick moving on from him. You know, a lot of talk about it. And one thing I'll say about that organization is they don't put up with a lot of what they had to put up with Mac Jones this past season. Maybe, just maybe, he gets another year to check things out because they've, you know, moved away from Matt Patricia, defensive guy calling the offense, and Joe Judge, who how did the hell did he get a head coaching job? We don't know. So anyway, those are names to keep an eye on. Keith Hennig, you know, which one of them guys do you want down in Tampa? Tampa and the Colts are two teams that are rumored to be interested in trading up to that #1 spot so that they can get their quarterback. In fact, there's a very good article out on CBS Sports about the Colts not letting the Texans get Bryce Young and how they need to move up to that #1 spot, take Bryce Young, and force the Texans to take CJ Stroud or Anthony Richardson or Will Levis, you know, or something like that. So, you know, again, do the Tampa Bay Buccaneers surprise everyone by doing that, by putting the package together to get that #1 spot from Chicago and taking their guy? We'll see. We'll see. I think that the Colts have a little bit better positioning in the draft, you know, so the Colts are what, #4, somewhere around there. It wouldn't be a far drop for the Bears to still be able to get their person. So we'll see. All that is happening. And now the running backs. There are a number of free agent running backs that are going to be coming up. The Cowboys have talked about their running back situation with Ezekiel Elliott and Tony Pollard. I feel like the Cowboys pony up to one of them and bring in one of the other guys that's being released or, you know, not re-signed in free agency. And there are a number of quality running backs out there. So instead of seeing Zeke and Tony, you know, again, you're probably going to see one of the other. And I think it's going to be Tony Pollard. I think Tony Pollard is going to be the one that the Cowboys re-sign and then fill in the gap with a number of quality running backs that will be available. You know, again, the fact that running backs are looked at as expendable almost more than any other position. The running back position is one where a lot of teams will walk away from. Imagine this in the backfield in Dallas. Cowboy fans, King Doc and Mika and you all. Imagine Tony Pollard and Saquon Barkley as your running back tandem in Dallas. Man, it could happen. It could happen. So we'll see how everything goes, but that's the other other area that I'm going to be looking at. All right, man, the time is flying here. So let me quick check on the upcoming action in the college basketball ranks. Of course, conference tournaments are about to get started. You got folks who are wrapping up their regular season play and about to step into their conference tournament play. I'm pretty locked in on the #1 seeds being, you know, the top 4, top 5 in the current standings, unless one of those teams stumble in their conference tournament. And, you know, stumble early, bad. Stumble in the conference championship game, lose by a point or two, they can typically still get that #1 seed. But U of H, man, I'm hopeful they don't stumble in the AAC because people just don't give it the same kind of credit as they would give the Big 12. If Baylor beat Kansas in the Big 12 championship game, Kansas still has a shot for a #1 seed. If Memphis beats Houston in the AAC conference championship game, chances are they're not going to be a #1 seed. They'll probably be a #2, you know, because they just don't have a whole lot of, you know, a lot of power, if you will, in the AAC versus the Big 12. So we'll see how that plays off. TSU is in trouble. And it's been unfortunate. You know, they've had some injuries this year. but they just haven't been the same team. And I don't know what's going over there. I don't think Johnny Jones, head coach Johnny Jones, has gotten, illiterate to basketball all of a sudden. Like his basketball IQ has fallen off. I think not having key players for long stretches of time during the season has cost them. And, they're struggling just to get in the top 8 in the SWAC so that they could compete for a chance to get back to the NCAA. But man, it looks like this is Grambling's year to get it done. Grambling's been fun to watch. They got some, PWI, Power 5 competition on their schedule that they have played well. And, so I think Grambling is the team to beat in the SWAC. On the women's side in the SWAC, it's all Jackson State again. It's all Jackson State again. And, really happy for them. Got a great coach, very humble. We've had her on the HBCU stroll with coach Johnny Cole. So we'll see how things work out. But again, we're about to get into conference playoff play, and that'll be conference tournament play. I got my mind on the pro sports with the playoffs. So anyway, that's what we got going on. So questions of the day again: which one of these free agent quarterbacks do you think can help your team do more winning? Which one of these free agent running backs do you think can help your team do more winning? And where do you want your team to draft? Who do you want your team, positions or players? Who do you want your team to draft in the upcoming draft? Those are the questions. Let me take my final break. We'll be right back right after this on the lunch break, powered by JM&E, streaming live on Roku TV, courtesy of BS3 TV.
Of course, Steph Curry, Tim Anderson, Jordan Alvarez. And it's caught! Deebo Samuel with the catch.
Michael Jordan can sense.
The Fro just got the king.
BS3 Network.
The hottest of hot takes. The coldest of cold, hard facts. This is Snowman in the Morning with Cole Johnson. Weekdays at 8 a.m. Eastern. Check your local listings for your viewing and listening pleasure.
That's why we here on this platform.
Marriage. A loving splendor, a daily grind. Such is the case when Damien and Jamie get together and chop it up, for marriage is real.
Let's just lay it all out here. Let's just be real with it.
Join this wonderful couple who keeps it real and always in love. BS3 Network proudly presents Marriage is Real, where love is the only thing that matters. Live every Tuesday at 8:30 Central. Oh, and Jamie has something to say.
Deuces and trays.
Deuces and trays. All right, y'all. That's the Marriage is Real podcast and Snowman in the Morning. 2 more great shows that you can check out on the BS3 network. Download BS3 TV from your Roku streaming device, and you got us. Go to bs3network.com. That's bs3network.com, and you got us there. Changing the way you watch TV. That's what BS3 TV is doing. All right. I realized I forgot Jimmy Garoppolo. Man, Jimmy G is a quarterback that's going to get a lot of looks from a lot of different organizations, one of which the Miami Dolphins. Again, not sure how things are going to play out with Tua Tagovailoa. It was tough to watch that young man suffer through this season with the concussions and some of the hits and the way his body responded. The Dolphins have got to find a quarterback that has starting ability, starting experience to help that franchise out if Tua is unable to just put it all together. My heart goes out to the young man because I know nobody worked harder than him to get ready for this season. But Jimmy G is going to be a very interesting free agent this year. I'm looking for teams like the Texans, teams like the Jets, teams like Miami to be looking to him, Tampa to be looking to him to be their either gap answer at quarterback or, their next step. So we'll see. Listen, I got to get ready to go. Don't forget to sign up for your free account with cbssports.com. Just go to cbssports.com and look for, just go to cbssports.com and sign up for a free account with your email address. You don't have to pay for anything. And then hang on, because I'll be sending you out a link for you to join the Lunch Break Keeping Up with the Joneses Bracket Challenge. And that's another opportunity for you to win $500 cash, like Miss Pearl just did in the Lunch Break Weekly Keeping Up with the Joneses Pick'em Challenge that we do for the NFL. So go to cbssports.com, sign up for your free account, and get ready, because it's going to be coming, and I mean very soon, and you got to have that account. CJ, set yourself up, all right? Probably going to go with 2 entries this year. You can have, my honest picks and then my random picks, my bracket buster picks. We're probably going to go with 2 entries in this season's bracket challenge. So, but it starts with you signing up for the free account. Listen, I got to get ready to go. As always, let's not be divided. Let's be united. I truly do love you, and there's nothing you can do about it except join us here tomorrow for Throwback Thursday. All right, y'all. Y'all take care. We'll talk to you later.
It's Sybil Wilkes with what you need to know. Today is Wednesday. We're at March 1st, the 1st, 2023. Number 1, the Supreme Court heard arguments over President Joe Biden's student debt relief plan Tuesday, which affects millions of borrowers who could see their loans wiped away or at least seriously reduced. To cancel student loan debt, the Biden administration relied on the Higher Education Relief Opportunities for Students Act, commonly known as the HEROES Act. A panel of 3 federal conservative appeals court judges in the U.S. Court of Appeals for the 8th Circuit put the program on hold during an appeal. The Supreme Court then stepped in and agreed to weigh in. Number 2, each year, March is designated as Women's History Month by presidential proclamation. This month is set aside to honor women's contributions in American history. The Education Task Force of the Sonoma County Commission on the Status of Women planned and executed a Women's History Week celebration the week of March 8th back in 1978 to correspond with International Women's Day. In February 1980, President Jimmy Carter issued the first presidential proclamation during the week of March 8th, 1980, as National Women's History Week. The tradition continued until 1987, when Congress passed Public Law 100-9, designating March as Women's History Month. Number 3, back in May, a national outbreak caused by an extremely worrisome bacteria that caused a serious eye infection got horribly out of hand. At last count, 58 Americans in 13 states have been infected, including at least 1 who died and at least 5 who suffered permanent vision loss. All have been linked to tainted eye drops, leading to a recall. After months of testing and investigating, it was found that Ezricare artificial tears, an over-the-counter product marketed in the U.S., was the culprit that led to the outbreak. Number 4, businesswoman and actress Gabrielle Union and businessman and NBA superstar Dwayne Wade delivered a powerful acceptance speech about the importance of supporting the Black, trans, and LGBTQ+ community when receiving the prestigious President's Award at the 2023 NAACP Image Awards Saturday night. Wade opened the speech by dedicating the award to his 15-year-old daughter Zaya, who is transgender, saying that he was proud to be chosen as Zaya's father. In her portion of the address, Union added a powerful push to stand in a new era of activism that includes supporting the trans and LGBTQ+ community. Number 5, Devin Sequoia Cooper has been missing from Columbus, Ohio since September 1st, 2021. The transgender woman was last seen leaving her residence on the north side of Columbus, Ohio at approximately 11:30 on the night of August 31st, 2021 to go to the corner store. She never returned home. At the time, she was driving her black 2009 Ford Fusion, which was later recovered on the west side of Columbus. Cooper was reported missing to the Columbus Division of Police September 1st. She appears to be the victim of foul play. Anyone with information on Cooper's disappearance, please go to the Black and Missing Foundation website. Here's your daily inspiration from Yogi's Jewels. Grace is the universe's gift to the perfectionist. Inhale grace. Exhale judgment. Join me today live on YouTube and Facebook at 7 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Central with producer extraordinaire Stephen Hill, comedian extraordinaire Myra J., and LGBTQ plus activist extraordinaire Quint Townsend Riley as we discuss today's top headlines and more. I'm Sybil Wilkes. Be informed.
BS3 Network. Changing the way you watch TV.